What's up, everyone, and welcome to Shared Save the Game Media's weekly gaming discussion podcast. I am your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking about a lot of games, including Ninja Gaiden 4 and Keeper. We're going to also talk about the future of Bluepoint and, as always, our Patreon submitted topic for the week. Before we get to that, I got to introduce my co-host. We're back. Sam Heaney, how are you, my friend?
Um, that is a loaded question.
Loaded question for sure.
I, you know, I've had probably one of the worst weeks of my life. I appreciate you and everybody in the Discord for reaching out, sending lovely messages. It did mean the world. I don't know if Sam is here, but I'm going to shout out Sam Hall as well because his Outer Wilds VODs have kept me going. It's always a joy to see people beat that game. I very unexpectedly lost my dog Thursday afternoon. So obviously that sort of shot plans in the foot. But, I think it's still going to take a long time to process. It's not quite settled in yet. But we've taken time. I've sort of stepped back from a lot of work. You were very gracious, so thank you to you as well for being understanding. And I wanted to come back this week and get back on the wagon. I like talking about games. It's a good bit of structure and a distraction. So it's still a sad time for me, but I'm doing okay. So thank you to everybody for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I can't imagine what you're feeling. I like that everyone kind of supported, came together. Really made me proud of this community when I didn't feel comfortable enough sharing.
Sure.
That's for you to share, but I loved the response and everyone kind of just comforting you in a difficult time for sure. So shout out to our wonderful community, and hopefully things get better day by day. Okay,
Amen.
Sam.
Amen.
But we're gonna talk about games and then
Amen. Yeah.
Get some.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I leave for Jamaica in exactly 2 weeks, so I will be gone for 8-ish days. Everything's all set. Flight plans are made. Just gotta actually do the thing and get on the plane and go to Jamaica. And I was looking at the weather and I'm like, oh, what's Jamaica this time of year? You know what I'm saying? It's like 85 degrees every. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be so hot. Like, I mean, I don't have anything to do besides you know, sit on the beach. But ooh, Captain Logan say I'm a bit quieter. Let me look into that. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know
Just
what's
scream
going.
into the mic.
Yeah,
You'll
I
be
say I
fine.
don't know what's going on. When I started doing X Talk, my gain was at like a 2, and now I've had to bump it up to a 4. So I don't know if my
Interesting.
mic is like dying or something, but hopefully that helps. I did boost it. Let me know if it's too loud now, and I will sort it out hopefully. But yeah, I'm excited to just be on vacation and obviously get married and do that whole thing and eat
Woo.
some delicious food. But we're going to talk about some awesome games today. I'm really excited to dive into that. Before we get to that, I got to get through some housekeeping. This is Shared Save. We are live every Thursday, usually here on youtube.com/save the game media. If you can't catch us live, plus every Sunday on your audio platform of choice. While over there, please drop us a review. It does help, whether it's Apple, Spotify, whatever. We appreciate it. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to Save the Game Media content and exclusive bonus shows, head over to the patreon.com/save the game media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current supporters. So thank you to Sam Hall, Alpaca Tom, Rick Davis, Silkenet, Dave Harp, David Hotright, Lillian, Marcus O'Neill, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Nikolai at Night, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brandon, and Black Wyver. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. Sam, we obviously been gone for 2 weeks, so we played a lot of games in that time. We're going to save 2 of them for my topic to discuss, but I do want to know, what have you been playing?
So not much over the past week, as again you can imagine. Although I have, to be fair, used it as again a bit of a distraction. Um, can't find much joy in games at the moment, but that's natural, so that's fine. But prior to events, I did manage to both beat and platinum Ghost of Yotei. So I truly love that game. I think that it is demonstrably better than Tsushima in every regard, having wrapped.
Mm-hmm.
It will be inevitably quite high in our Game of the Year conversation, as one would expect. I will be interested to see where Sucker Punch go next, because Ghost is clearly an anthology series now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that, contrary to online conversation, I do think that Yotei differentiates itself enough from Tsushima. But I do think that they might run the risk of, if they do 3 Ghost games in a row,
Mm-hmm.
of maybe wearing out the rubber a little bit on the road, and getting a bit of backlash. So, maybe they do go back to Sly, maybe.
Yeah, don't give me hope. So it's interesting because I feel like I've listened to multiple shows this week where people keep talking about like negative discourse surrounding Ghost of Yotei or Yotei, right?
Mhm.
I keep hearing this, but like I'm like, where is this discourse happening? Where is the negativity? Because it reviewed very well. I think it's like an 86 or something, right? Like better than Tsushima. Every podcast I listen to, people are raving about it, saying what you were saying, that it's a marked improvement over Tsushima. So I'm not really sure where this negativity, if this isn't a pocket of the internet that I do not visit, but this is not something I'm seeing.
I mean, I think it's multifaceted. I think it's partially, like the grums of the internet, going, women in games, no please, no thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a rumor spreading around that Atsu was like a lesbian and raising a kid in the game. I'm like, well, okay, even if that was true, like, but it's not true. Like, it's just not. So they're just spreading disinformation, which again isn't surprising. I think as well there is like some genuine discourse of like, people do love Shinsekai. I don't know that I fully agree, but like they would have preferred a Tsushima 2,
Mm-hmm.
which I get, but I think that, again, Yotei to me earns its spot as a replacement, if you want to frame it like that, to Tsushima 2. And then there will be people that disagree with me that it doesn't innovate enough. I think it is iterative, as all sequels are. But I think that, again, if you consider any other first party sequel in recent years, like Ragnarok or Forbidden West or Spider-Man 2, I think that Yotei is on the upper echelon of differentiating itself from its predecessor. So yeah, I mean, I think there are definitely good faith arguments. I'm not going to say that there aren't, but I think a lot of it is just noise. And then obviously, like, there was the controversy around the Charlie Kirk comments and things like that, which didn't help the game. So I think that people just, ironically, considering Yotei's subject matter, have a list, and Sucker Punch is just written over and over again on that list, and they're trying to cross it out as many times as they can, and it's not working.
Yeah, I see Rick Davis put in the chats in 3 specific places, 2 failed boycotts, and 1 fandom that's trying to fight a silly box war.
Yep.
I do remember seeing, obviously, from one of these grifter circles, someone claiming, "Oh, I got the sales data," and I was like, "And it's selling poorly," and I'm like, Circana disagrees with you, but yeah, go off, my guy. Post your video. Get that clout, I guess, the fake clout that you're generating from your grifters. I mean, I'm glad to hear it's selling well. Apparently, it's reviewing well, and people seem to like it. So, I love Sucker Punch. I am okay if they move away from Ghost, though.
As am I.
What else have you been playing here? I see something called Metal Garden.
Yes. I'm in my Critical Reflex bag.
Oh my God. Is this another one?
It's not another. It's not another
Okay,
one. It's not another one. But being in the Critical Reflex, I've started getting a lot of different Steam recommendations for very niche things now. And weirdly enough, I expect it's going to, like, at least partially sort of explode in popularity, because yesterday Jacksepticeye did a full playthrough video of it.
Mm.
I found I played Metal Garden before it was cool. I found it. It's only a few pounds, so not that expensive, not that long either. It's again like a couple of hours, but it's a first-person shooter uh, where you are essentially consider. Okay, how do I frame this? Consider Shadow of the Colossus without the Colossus, a little bit of Fallout, and it's set in a giant metal dome. It's also like a little bit of like boomer shooter, like
Okay. I like
retro.
boomer shooters.
So like the graphic style isn't great, but it's a lot about the setting and the atmosphere, the vibe that the game gives off. There's little like not audio logs, like data logs that you can read and get a little bit of exposition about the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is left up to interpretation, and you're just shooting bad guys and exploring like these massive mega structures and ancient ruins and trying to find a way out of this dome that civilizations have lived and died in for centuries. So very weird, but a
Mm-hmm.
nice vibe. I like that kind of like ominous, just sort of desolate. In the same way of like when you're wandering again between Colossus and Shadow of the Colossus, it's just like an empty, open wasteland. You're like, what happened in this place? And there's like these structures, and you don't know what they are or what they do. That's what this game does very well.
Yeah, that's not what I enjoy. And when games are desolate like that, I'm like, oh man, they didn't have enough money to actually make a world here, so they just kind of put some environments in, you know.
So pessimistic.
It is what it is. To be real with you, I thought you misspelled Metal Eden when you put this in the
Uh,
chat. I was like, oh, he's playing Metal Eden. Haven't heard anyone talk about that game besides Jam Pack Sam.
yep.
Yeah, I don't know how happened to that game. I think it came and went, unfortunately.
It's on
But
my
it's
wish
cool.
lists. Like, oh,
It
I
looks
will pick it
cool.
up. Yeah, but
Well, the other two games you've been playing, we'll talk about in our first topic when we get into our review section. I have been playing quite a few games. I played Ease versus Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga. This is a remaster, remake, port of Ease versus Trails in the Sky, which was a PSP game, I believe. This is kind of a arena fighting game.
mm,
But it very much keeps its PSP roots, where the character models don't look very good in game, and it's a stark contrast because the actual like the artwork for when it's telling the story and like dialogue between characters really beautiful, like absolutely stunning artwork. Like they've touched things up, and then you get into the game and it's like, oh man, this is I think Alpaca Tom, I was streaming it on Twitch, Save the Game Media on Twitch. Go follow us. He comes in, he goes, "Oh, what's this DS game?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a fair criticism. Like it's locked to 60 because it's a fighting game. It still looks very low res or low poly. Um, I beat it. There's like, well, I beat two of the storylines. There's five of them, but they're all basically the same, except like you just
right.
sub in one character. So like maybe a line of dialogue changes here or there, or like instead of they'll make a reference to ease instead of trails or whatever. So it's very minimal differences. I'm like, I'm not doing five of these, especially when I don't think like all five of the characters are fun to play. So it was okay. It was a few hours of my time. I had fun with it. Always happy to support Falcom. But in terms of actually like playing a fighting game, I tried to do one online fight. This game came out and I went online the day it came out. There was one person playing online, and somehow you have to like grind for like, I forget the battle points essentially. And to unlock everything in the game, you have to get like 25,000 battle points, which takes like 50 hours or something. This dude had
Mm.
like 96,000. I'm like, bro, the game just came. How is this? Am I playing a developer? Like, what's going? He slapped me around real quick. I couldn't touch this dude. I'm like, all right, that's enough of this online experience. So, yeah,
Oh
no, thank
dear.
you. Rick Davis, side note, Kev, did you see the Tales series producer confirm they're remastering Xillia 2 as well? I used to pray for times like this meme. I did see that. I'm very happy that Xillia 2 will also be getting a remaster, and then they also confirmed 2 more remasters are in development, as well as a new game in the series. So bring on the Tales games. I'm here for it. Ball Pit, not Ball X Pit. Ball Pit. Are you interested in Ball Pit, Sam?
I mean, I like the Vampire Survivors. Obviously, I've over the past couple of weeks been playing Mega Bonk as well, which is in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
It's interested me. I kind of like Breakout, so I've seen some of your comments that's maybe sort of put me off a little bit.
I see everyone raving about this game, saying they're addicted to it. You know, it's climbing up their game of the year, their indie game of the year rankings, whatever. I think the gameplay is pretty good.
Okay.
I don't think it's quite as addicting to me as Vampire Survivors. I think the combinations and the moving around the map, like something about that, I like the Vampire Survivors formula better. But this does enough where it's like, okay, you've taken elements from that game where you have collecting the experience, picking your upgrades, and you can combine things to produce new upgrades. Totally fine. I think what it is the brick breaker elements kind of get to me because like some characters I'm like, you're useless because your balls will just shoot off in random directions. Or I unlocked one couple where it's like they're like the companions or something, so you get 2 characters, they do half damage but they shoot twice as many balls. But the problem is they are mirrored, so like they're always angling like the opposite of each other. It messes with my head. So I'm sitting here, I've done some runs, I've beaten the first level a few times. I'm like, okay, this is all good, whatever. My issue comes with after the runs, you have to go back and essentially it becomes a town building farming game, which, if I can just say, removing these 2 mechanics instantly would make this game 1,000 times better to me, because this is where it loses me. To unlock new characters, you have to build houses or buildings, and to once you get the resources for these buildings, so you'll need like 5 pieces of wood and some stone and some hay or whatever, right? And then gold. To get that, you have to plant like crops, and then you'll send your little guys, however many characters you have unlocked, that's how many will move at a time. You'll send your little guys, they'll collect the resources. If you don't get enough, you just got to go do another run, come back, do it all over again until you have enough resources. But even then, once you build the building, you have to hit the building a certain number of times with the characters to actually like make them official and get the new character to come out. You have to do this for buildings that give upgrades, like more health or more endurance to every single character. It just becomes really tedious for me, where it's like, okay, I don't feel like I'm making progress fast enough here because you've put these arbitrary constraints where it's like, okay, get the resources, now hit it a bunch of times. And sometimes you'll think you're going to hit it, but then you'll hit something, your guys will, because you have to launch them almost like a brick breaker. Just becomes very frustrating. So I only put a few hours into it. I don't think I'm going to go back. I'm not feeling the urge like I did Vampire Survivors, where I was like, oh, I'm going to put a podcast on and just like chill out with Vampire Survivors. There's some good upgrade paths here. They have the vampire steal and health, and like that still feels like kind of OP like Vampire Survivors, but the other stuff really puts me off Ball Pit, unfortunately.
That sucks to hear.
And then the final game I want to talk to you about, Yooka Replayly. I have beaten Yooka Replayly. I have platinumed Yooka Replayly. Yooka Replayly is one of my favorite games of this year.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. Yooka Replayly is such an improvement over the original game. Everything just feels better. I know you get all your moves from the start of the game as opposed to collecting them, which isn't really in the spirit of Banjo-Kazooie, more Mario Odyssey, but it
Mhm.
just makes traversing the world so much better. You no longer feel frustrated or confused if you can actually do something. The game doesn't feel janky anymore. They changed the camera angles. Everything looks cleaner, more visually appealing. I just can't. This is such a good 3D platform. Like, this is what I always wanted this game to be, and now I'm like, I can honestly say like I love Ukulele now because this is the version we always should have got. Um, I will say my only drawback, and it's not a drawback for me, they did not change the page requirements, but they
Okay.
doubled
Okay.
the amount of pages.
Okay. Okay.
So instead of the 150, there's now 300, but you
Right.
still only need, I think, 125 to go beat the game.
Okay.
So I played literally 100% of the first world, and then I was going just around high towers getting pages there. And by the time I was done just like exploring that place, I could go to the fifth world. I didn't have to go to any of the other ones. So I went straight to the fifth world because in the fifth world, there's an item that will double the amount of coins you get. And that'll just let me buy like the tonics and all that other good stuff, right? So I kind of broke the game by just skipping the other worlds and then went and did the fifth one and then went back to the other ones. The final boss was a joke at that point. Like when I got there, I was like, yo, I got like 14 health bars. Like, what are you going to do to me? Right. Like, you
Mhm.
can't touch me. So they definitely didn't balance the game to account for the changes they made, but it was, I mean, I don't really care because it was fun. That's the
Yeah.
main thing for me.
In comparison to Ball Pit, being disappointing, that's one of the most exciting, relieving things because, like Rick said in the comments, I wanted to love ukulele, and I just sort of there were too many things in the way, so I held out a lot of hope for this, and you sort of just given me the green light where it's like this is going to be something over the holiday period this year. I will be jumping right in.
Yeah, it's very charming. They added a few new collectibles. Like I think there's like a pirate treasure to find, or I don't know if they're new
Mm,
actually. I think there's some new collectible in there. But anyway, they made everything just more enjoyable to collect because it feels better to play. And I see Rick in here saying he didn't like Banjo Kazooie anyway. But yes, the original ukulele was not good.
yeah,
This is very good.
amazing.
And I think if you own the original, I think you get it for $20. So it's well worth it, in my opinion.
Excellent.
All right, Sam, that is what we've been playing, except for 2 games, which will bring us to our first topic of the evening. Shout out Savoy Prime hanging out with us. And that is our Keeper and Ninja Gaiden 4 review. Sam, let's start with Keeper first because that came out last Friday. Have you played Keeper? How much time have you put into it, and what are your overall impressions?
So I've beaten Keeper. Uh,
Hell yeah.
I did it in 3.8 hours, according to the PC Xbox app.
Mm.
I have got the 1,000 gamer score in Keeper.
Wow. In 3.8 hours.
Yep,
Wow. Okay.
yep. Um, I wish I had nice things to say,
Oh, no.
um,
Okay. This is
but
taking a turn.
I don't think I do.
Okay.
Um,
Lay it on me. I'm ready.
which I mean, we'll get into it, but I found myself like pretty bored, and it didn't drag necessarily, but I just sort of found myself lamenting the fact that without too many spoilers, the gameplay does like technically evolve, but really you aren't doing anything all that much different or interesting. And I think that the problem I really have with Keeper is that the issues I have with it are like one for one with Hellblade 2, where
Mm.
it's a very short experience, which
Mm-hmm.
that isn't a problem, but
Yep.
it's a very short experience that took them quite a while to make. You know, the Psychonauts 2, 2021, and now Keeper. And the things that are being praised are the audio and the visuals, which I'm like 100% behind. I think it
Mm-hmm.
looks gorgeous. I think the music, the sound design, fantastic. But just like with Hellblade 2, which those were the things that were praised, then you get into the conversation around the gameplay and the puzzles. And you're like, well, yeah, that's where it kind of falls apart. And I think that the same happens here. And I know that the puzzles are like simple on purpose, they're simple by design, but I just don't think it worked, in my opinion. I think that I've heard reviews saying that like the puzzles are like a pacing thing. I think the game would have been better as just like, even if it was cut down to like a 2-hour thing.
Mm.
If it was a 2-hour walking sim where you are just going through these environments, doing a little bit of platforming and navigating these environments without the puzzles, I think I would be higher on it than I am. And I think the other issue that I find is outside of like the whole, well, the game parts of the game are the worst parts, which was true of Hellblade 2 as well. The issue I find is that a lot of people are lumping this in with experiences like Abzu or Sword of the Sea or Journey.
I've seen Limbo thrown around a lot.
Yeah, Inside as well. The problem I find, because I love a lot of those games, obviously I gushed about Sword of the Sea not that long ago, Pathless as well. The problem that I find with Keeper is that it's vague by design, of course, which is fine. But the inherent problem I find is that whilst the visuals are very impressive and lots of the environments are very different and cool,
Mm-hmm.
it feels most of the time like they're just doing it because it looks cool and because they can switch it up a bit. There's no like cohesion to the world, and I can't really deduce anything from these environments that we're navigating. Like one very, very minor thing early in the game, you sort of fall down a pit
Mm-hmm.
and like your light is temporarily knocked out
Yep.
and you're going through a dark space. And in the background, there is this like massive
Mm-hmm.
tentacled thing. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And like in 30 seconds, you're past it and you don't see anything like it again. You don't really understand what that was about. And again, lots of these games show you things and you don't know what they're about. But there isn't that cohesion that I think is quite important, because you can see things that are like, what the hell? Like Inside, especially, you're like, what the fuck is that?
Mm-hmm.
But everything blends together so that it makes the experience flow better. And I feel like they tried to do biomes here, but you don't linger in any of them long enough, and you don't do interesting, unique things in any of them long enough to really make it feel like I'm getting any sense of space or place. So it's a very pretty game, and you know, I love games being art. I like weird, quirky things, but I would say, in the nicest possible way, that I really hope Double Fine has something else relatively loaded in the barrel.
Mm.
Because as much as this was received well, you know, the Steam
Mm-hmm.
player count isn't everything,
Yeah,
but it's like that's
critically it's been received.
doesn't
well.
look great. And you know, for a game that has, in my opinion, like no replayability, which again isn't inherently a problem, for something as short as it is that hasn't really generated any buzz or discussion post-launch. I love that Double Fine went for it, and I appreciate that Xbox allowed them to see it through. But I don't think that the experiment quite worked in the way that other Double Fine games in the past have.
It's interesting you because you're a Double Fine guy, right?
I
Like
am.
you, yeah. So is this one of the only ones you've played that hasn't really connected with you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I like, Lee Petty being the director. I like most of his other things. I love Stacking. I really liked Headlander. I thought Rad was like okay as like a roguelite kind of game. But outside of that, I can't think of a game. I'm not a big fan of Costume Quest. But
You're the
like
second person I've heard say that recently, and I've always thought Costume Quest was like a pretty good.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it didn't really work for me. But like everything else, like Broken Age, Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, you name it,
Hmm.
or even going all the way back to Grim Fandango, I'm all over Double Fine. So
Okay.
this is the first miss in quite a while for me.
It's so interesting because I didn't know you were playing it until I saw it on the document tonight. We haven't spoken about it. I played this game. I beat this game in one day,
Me
in
too.
two sittings, because I was on shout out Captain Logan and Luke Lore. I was on the Xbox expansion pass over the weekend, so I played a bit before I went on that show, and then I finished it up later in the evening. And I gotta say, I think I agree with you on visuals and soundtrack. Like beautiful, beautiful game to look at, especially running like high settings on
Hmm.
PC. And you get
Yep.
the like. I thought this was going to be one of those games where I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to put a podcast on and listen because there's no dialogue, there's no text, right? No, I just had my headphones in. I was vibing the whole time. I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying the world that I'm in right now. I'm getting lost here. I think Keeper starts at its worst and gets better as you go on. I actually found myself really enjoying this experience.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on two opposite ends of the coins here. So especially the first, like when you first become the lighthouse, right? And you're
Mm.
like walking, and you're like falling everywhere. I'm like, this better not be the movement for the whole game. I think it does a very poor first impression, and then you kind of figure out what it's about. I will say I agree that the puzzles are very simplistic. There was only one that I knew what it was, the door puzzle where you had to like move the symbols, and I was like, the symbols are what they're supposed to be. Why isn't this opening? And it was like, okay, you have to get to the exact millimeter or whatever.
Yep.
Like that was my only frustrating puzzle. Everything else I felt really much like if I just keep going forward, I will get to the end of this puzzle and everything will be as it should, and it was. So for me, the puzzles really didn't play a factor so much as I enjoyed a lot of the puzzles, especially in, I will say, the desert city area, if you
Hmm.
will. I think those puzzles were a lot of fun. I thought we were nearing the end of the game, and that is when I heard Captain Logan say this too on XEP, but that is when they switched things up and really did change the experience for me, where I think they changed it enough that I was now, oh wow, this is more fun for me.
Mm.
I'm having a better time because it's a it's going against my expectations.
Sure.
It's doing something I didn't expect, and then it does that again, which I thought, okay, I don't know, but that one doesn't overstay. It's like you don't overstay your welcome with any of these things, I will say, because I beat it in 4 hours, so a little longer than you beat it, but roughly almost the same time. I'm seeing some people say they spent eight. I saw reviews 8 hours with it, and I can't personally fathom how you would spend 8 hours here.
If you're maybe spending like half an hour just sort of looking
In
around in
in
one of the
photo mode, I
zones.
guess, but
Yeah.
that is, yeah, that's not a. I felt good after my 4 hours where I was like, that was the perfect length. Like that was the time to end this experience. But I really thought they did a good job of keeping me feeling fresh, keeping the puzzles fun enough, even if they were simple. I just I walked away really positive with it. It's not like, oh my god,
Cool.
game of the year, but I can totally see where I'm like, 8 out of 10 seems about right for me.
Mm. Yeah, I probably, it might sound harsh. I'd probably go like a 6 for me.
Mm.
Um, And, like, I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of the things you said. I think it's just sort of subjectively where the experience landed. I would agree that I think, as much as that last section doesn't overstay its welcome, like, I think the visuals that it presents are something that did elevate it to me, where it sort of left on a good note, I would say.
Hmm.
But I one of the other things that I forgot to mention is, like, that it's like an almost game where, like, they're on the cusp of being, like, excellent. I won't say spoil it exactly, but
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in the city where you're dealing with time, and, like, changing states of things, you don't really do anything with that. Like, it's technically used in solving puzzles, but, like, again, without spoilers, what happens to, like, the bird when you do that?
Hmm.
I felt like there would have been ways to actually use that not only more, but, like, more creatively, and uniquely. It's sort of like you're just doing the same thing, but in a slightly different
Hmm.
order, which, like, I guess is a variation on a puzzle, but it seems like you present something that could be conceptually quite interesting, and then you don't really do all that much with it. Um,
Yeah, I think if I had a critique, and it kind of goes in line with what you're saying, is I thought we would take the mechanics introduced early on and then build upon them in future, like every like culminating and like, oh, you got to combine all these things, and it really is like this. So the puzzle mechanics here are just here. The puzzle mechanics over here are just over here.
Yeah, it's what I thought they were going to do that because the bird keeps, like, putting things on the
Hmm.
lighthouse. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so that's, like, a new power up that
Yeah, I
we've
thought it
got,"
was like an
or, like,
attachment. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's obviously not. It's just, like, a symbol of progression through the story, which is fine. Um, I also, like, I don't know whether this is emblematic of your experience as well, but because it's fixed camera, I
Oh,
I found myself getting pretty frustrated, not, like, super frequently, but often enough that I was noticing I was becoming frustrated, particularly in that city, to be fair, where I was like, "Okay, so I have to be stood in a very specific spot so that the prompt will show up to send my bird over. It's not showing up, but
yes.
I have to walk towards where I want the camera to be looking, and that doesn't always work all the time, and you get caught on things and you stumble into things that you wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
had any chance of. It's like,
Yeah,
I
there were
get
there were
why they chose that, but
There were a few times, yeah, because obviously the other stick does something.
yes.
So like you couldn't use that to control the camera. But there were times where I was like, I have no idea where to go, and then I would walk over. I'm like, okay, why didn't you light up when I was just over here a second ago to like have an interaction? So that again, minor nitpicks for me.
Sure.
It is an experience overall I really enjoyed. I will say, and I told this to I was talking to Nissa about this. If anyone has seen the movie The Wild Robot, I
Mm,
think there's a lot of parallels between Keeper and The Wild Robot, at least how I interpret the game.
sure. Yeah, I can see that.
So
Yeah.
I maybe that enhanced my experience drawing those parallels while I was playing it, but yeah, overall good experience. Happy I played it. Glad it didn't overstay its welcome, but I can definitely see where this isn't going to hit for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, if you have Game Pass, then play it because you can bash it out. I mean, I bashed it out in one longer sitting because, again, I
Hmm.
haven't been doing much this past week. Um, and even if you don't, like you said, you can get it done in two. Even if you go longer than your playtime, you can get it done in two. So, try it out. Subjective, I would say it's not worth the price tag if you're buying it
No,
individually.
yeah, I wouldn't buy it for $30.
No,
Personally.
and, I'm certain that that's not set by Double Fine, but I would say if you are interested in purchasing it to own, I would wait for it to maybe be, like, half that price,
Yeah, it'd be
and
a
then I
good
could
price.
comfortably recommend it at that range. So, yeah, a bummer. I really wanted to love it, and I think that there are really good bits in it. It's definitely a Double Fine game. I can
Mhm.
say that with confidence, but it just didn't quite stick the landing for me overall.
Yeah, and we've heard their work. They have other like this was a side team, right? This wasn't the Psychonauts main team, right? So like hopefully they have another project coming, certainly before the end of this generation, but like maybe next year.
I would assume that that's the case. The, the Psych Odyssey documentary, it gives so much information. I keep referencing it all the time. We've heard about Kiln, which could still be in development. The person who led that project as a pitched thing internally, he is still, according to the documentary, directing a game. So you would assume that it's that one because the studio agreed that they wanted to turn Kiln into a game in the documentary.
It's
So
that's a multiplayer game though,
it
right?
is.
Like,
It
I mean,
is
if
a
it
very unique one, to be fair.
the problem with that one, I feel like this is the I would draw a comparison to what's the studio that made Heavy Rain?
Quantic Dream.
Quantic Dream. They just announced their new 3v3 multiplayer game, which is like I just want a narrative experience from you, but like, okay, if Kiln comes out, it'll have the Game Pass, obviously, but like Double Fine isn't really like a I don't mean this derogatory, but like they aren't the main draw for a lot of people. They are very much an indie team owned by Xbox. They cater to the indie space. So I worry if they are making a multiplayer game that has their weird Double Fine sensibilities, even if it's on Game Pass, even if it's free to play, that it comes out and it's like DOA, kind of like Bleeding Edge, which had probably a lot more money behind it. Like Ninja Theory was riding high at that point. I just really worry that that would be a huge mistake if it and could go pretty bad for Double Fine. But I remain to be proven wrong. I will hold out hope, but I do kind of hope we get something more like Psychonauts 2 territory.
Yeah, I mean, Tim said he was like skeleton crewing a game at the same time, shortly after Psychonauts 2 launched. So depending on where Xbox has mandated things and where they, as the studio, decided to take things, depends on what we see first. I would hope it is Tim's next thing that we get first.
Freight Conductor brings up FBC as a cautionary tale there
Perfect
too.
example, yeah.
Which is a game you and I put a few hours in. Like
We did.
we played the entire game. We played every level of FBC Firebreak because
We saw everything they had.
we literally in a few hours
That was a good 3 hours we had.
Yeah, we saw everything that Remedy has, but like that's a great point because like their CEO just stepped down today. They're talking to like putting out financial statements. I'm over here getting worried that Remedy something's gonna happen to them. Like, and that would genuinely cry. Like, I think I would be in bed for like 2 days, like pretty inconsolable. Yeah. Oh, I just love them so much. It's like Ninja Theory and Remedy are right up there where like either anything happens to either of these studios, I'm gone.
Yeah.
You
can only hope.
Yes. Support the developers you love, guys. Well, let's move on from Keeper because another Xbox published game has released. This one came out Monday night, technically, early Tuesday morning for you in the UK there. Ninja Gaiden 4. We've both played it. Sam, I'm going to start with you. Same questions. How long have you put into Ninja Gaiden 4 and what are your overall impressions?
About 5 hours in.
Okay.
More positive than Keeper. I still will. I intend to finish it. I have other things. I mean, technically, I am playing a redacted game that I can't talk about, which I didn't mention. That is taking up a lot of my time, so it is drawing me away from Ninja Gaiden. But I am having a good time. I'm not a massive Ninja Gaiden guy, but I enjoyed 2 Black back in the day. Obviously the remaster that came out early this year. That was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaiden 2 Black came out this year.
Played a portion of that too, through Game Pass. The good old days when you can get it for relatively cheap, and I think I've played one other on the PS2. I can't remember which one though.
PS2 probably would have been the original Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, I guess it must have been.
Yeah.
I I think I agree with common consensus here, where it's like a bit of a guilty pleasure game where you can tell that it's not quite up to snuff, but it's still a really fun time. I'm just having a good sort of rambunctious, bloody time cutting through enemies. The comments about like the story being bad, I'm like, well, it kind of is from what I've seen. Like, I'm not engaged at all, but I can't say that I've ever been engaged in a Ninja Gaiden story. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people were expecting like Shakespeare here, but you weren't ever going to get that. But I think that, considering the down streak that Platinum has been on as of late, I think that this is an uptick. Like, they are trending back in the same direction. And again, like, how much of that is Team Ninja versus Platinum? Like, I don't know. But they've collaborated here, and it's turned out okay. I think that the visuals aren't great, but again,
What
I don't.
are you? What are you playing it on?
I'm playing on PC.
Okay, interesting. So, because I listened to, I'm not trying to call it. I listened to Kind of Funny's review
Mm,
and I got pretty angry listening to it because it did sound like people who weren't paying attention to the game, who cared more about graphics, where I think the game doesn't even look that like I think it looks good on my PC. Like I'm playing on my PC. I'm like, is it the most beautiful game? No, I would never call it that. But I think it's a fine looking character action game with some style mixed in there. Where you got some Persona elements, especially in some of the bloodbath kills. I would say are clearly inspired by Persona 5. But I think I'm probably higher on this game than you are as well. So I have played 10 hours of
mm.
Ninja Gaiden 4. I am on the final mission of
Oh,
Ninja Gaiden 4. I think that Ninja Gaiden 4 has probably the best story of any of the Ninja
okay.
Gaiden games.
Okay.
And it's weird for me to say that because I'm at conflict with myself,
Mm,
where I think this has the best story, where I'm like engaged and I like some of the characters. That being said, the main character Yakumo, who you play as, I don't like. There's parts of me that I'm like, okay, I like this, but he has that edge lord trope to him where he's like, ugh, whatever. Like, bro, like just stop trying to be cool for a minute and just talk to people, all right?
he's
Like
like Dante from DMC. I'm like, why have you done this to this
yeah, he
character?
comes off very teenage edge lord, which really rubs me the wrong way. There are other scenes where he's like, okay, character growth, character, but like more just like show that more. I like that Yakumo that I'm seeing here. Um, I love the combat. I think the combat is fun, engaging. It has a lot of combos you can do that I'm actually paying attention to. Different weapon styles. That's a must in a Ninja Gaiden game. Although I always go back to my favorite is the staff weapon, which
Mm,
has been the case in every Ninja Gaiden that it has featured in. So I find myself a little conflicted when I see people like going into this expecting a really good story and then getting a character action game where it kind of rubs me the wrong way because a lot of people, it makes me feel like character action games, like their highest they'll ever get is an 8, but like that is the genre. Like they're not here for story, they're here for fun, engaging, brutal gameplay. They're here for arcadey scores at the end. Like that's the style of game, and I almost feel like people have kind of pigeonholed it into well, until they get like a masterful narrative, then we're not going to review it higher. So that ticks me off a little bit because I think what is here is really high quality for the genre that it's going for. I'm having an absolute blast. My only critique not enough Ryu Hayabusa.
Of course.
It's again, I'm conflicted with myself where I like a lot of the new characters, but when you compare them to the characters I spent 3 games with, Ryu, Ayane, um, man, I'm missing them. I'm missing them. And I think I went into this maybe, and this might have been my fault because I really watched the reveal trailer and then kind of turned off marketing because it was being way too marketed. I thought this was going to be like a dual protagonist story.
They did set it up that way.
Yeah, like I swear the trailers I saw were like, okay, you'll play as both these characters, and that's how I figured the thing would be, and that's why I say not enough Ryu, because I wouldn't really say that this is really more Yakumo's game, and they're kind of. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a soft reboot for the series, and
I
he's
hope
going to
not.
be, and he's going to be the character going forward. If they're going to eventually do that dual protagonist thing, maybe in 5 we get more of a split or something like 2 storyline, whatever. I feel they need to make a decision, and hopefully that decision isn't to make Ryu Hayabusa a legacy character, because that does not sit well with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same to me of like, oh, let's make a God of War, but not have it be Kratos. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, Kratos is God of War
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that like Ninja Gaiden is Ryu. It's like you can have other characters in the game, but if Ryu isn't like the center, is like inherently missing something. So I would hope that they, if Yakumo was the plan, I hope he can stick around. That's fine, but he can't supplant Ryu. As hard as edgelordy as he might try to be, it's not going to be Ryu. So, and like to your point, I would sort of re-emphasize that I'm having a good time with it. I think, to your point, everything that it needs to get right for the genre, it does very well. Like the combat is pretty great. I think like the visual flares that they add into like the executions and things like that's all amazing. I think that to your point of like kind of funny and other reviews, to be fair.
Yeah, they were just one that
I think yeah. It's probably just the fact that for one reason or another, character action games have just sort of fallen out of vogue in recent years. Not that they haven't existed, but they just aren't as like prime time as they used to be. And I think that maybe the things that overtook character action games, which have primarily been sort of narrative heavy action adventure, I think that maybe we're trying to, certain people, and I can understand the impulse, are like trying to bleed those expectations back into character action games, or the character action games to make a return somehow have to adapt and include all of those things to that level. I think it's like it's serviceable. I would say visually, I don't think it's like, as you said, it's not like fantastic, but like it's fine. I would have loved it to have been a bit better, but like again, the stuff that it needed to get right, which is the action, is I don't really have any complaints. So that's the thing that matters.
I will say I like the soundtrack, especially when you're in like the upgrade shop.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that music is great. Um, I did point out, very well optimized on PC.
Yeah,
It's
it runs very well.
immediately noticeable where I'm like pushing 120 plus FPS, high everything, like not a hitch, not a stutter, like been a flawless experience. And I'm like, this is what we need more of in games, because too many games are coming out and they're like, they don't run well. There's weird hitches here or there for some reason.
Keep it.
Okay, I was gonna bring that up. There were weird times where I would climb onto a ledge and the game would kind of like stutter, freeze on PC. Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one experiencing that. Because
and loading screens, like, do we need? Is it really necessary to have the loading screens? You've got cutscenes as the interim transitions. Like,
Oh yeah, Rick, the red font in Ninja Gaiden 4 is pretty rough sometimes. The UI not the best in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Again, like stylistically, I understand what they're going for, but it doesn't read very well.
I still think in terms of overall, like the four mainline 3D Ninja Gaiden games, because I'm not a 2D Ninja Gaiden guy.
Mm.
I think four is probably I think two is my favorite, then one, then four, and I don't like. I think three is just is bad. Three is also one of those games where they try to give Ryu more of like a backstory and like explore his emotional depth, and I'm like, it doesn't work. That's not what we're here for. So, I think it's a really good game. I'm very pleased with it. I'm excited to finish it. Maybe after this podcast, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm loving Ninja Gaiden 4.
Having a great time as well.
All right. Did we have question? I forgot to put the questions in the show. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, we're good. We can answer these questions. All right. So it's Kyle wrote in says, do you think we will continue to see Xbox holding review embargoes until basically the time the game releases going forward? So, for those that don't know, Keeper's embargo was at the time of release, and Ninja Gaiden 4's embargo was an hour before release. Very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah. Especially considering both games were received pretty well. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what the if they've announced what the review embargo is for like Outer Worlds 2.
They
If
have.
that's I think that's I would assume that's like probably at least a day or two out, I would hope.
I'm pretty sure it's a day before. I think it's tomorrow, the day before
Okay.
early access starts.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is an encouraging sign that would like kind of negate the question. See, I was about to say for maybe like the experimental things that they aren't sure on, but were you not sure on Ninja Gaiden? Like for Keeper, I could maybe understand that because you're like, I don't know which way this is gonna swing, but Ninja Gaiden is like big primetime thing, well-known IP.
It screams to me that they're really putting less value into people having the reviews really far ahead of time because they're not concerned with pre-orders. They're not concerned with it boosting those numbers before the game launches because of Game Pass. Like the games are launching in a Game Pass, so what incentive do they have to make sure reviews are out a week before so you can get your pre-orders in, right? Like, oh, game comes out in 2 hours. Here's your reviews. It's on Game Pass anyway. If you're subscribed currently, you have access. What does the review really matter? Like, try it for yourself. That is really the mindset I feel like they're coming at it from. But I could be wrong. I think it's just a weird thing Xbox does these days.
Yeah, I would assume that if there are games coming from them in the future, and Ninja Gaiden, I guess, is a bit of an abnormality in about what I'm about to say. If there's like multi-platform day and date games that they do, I would assume they would have to have a wider window for the review embargo before launch because for when it's launching day and date, you want the pre-orders on those other platforms. So as long as you internally have had good reviews and you have an optimistic outlook for the game, I think it behooves them to have a wider, as wide as possible, but at least a day or two.
Yeah. I think a day or two is usually like the minimum. I know some game. I think Ghost of Yote had like a week ahead of time. Like there's some games out there that'll do that, but I think Metal Gear Solid 3 had like a really like way too long. Like their reviews came out very early, but It's a game by game basis. I see Freight Conductor saying more games seem to be giving less of a lead time on review release. It is a case by case basis for sure. I know Kena Bridge of Spirits, that was one that came out like, I think that was also at release. So I don't read too much into release timing. I know some people say, "Oh, well, it's a red flag if it's near," and I'm like, I think we have enough examples to prove that that's not true. It is really just something to do with marketing that is above our heads.
Yeah, I also think as well, like to Freight's point, like maybe there is an element here of the changing habits of consumers, not only in terms of being more selective about their games, and therefore you sort of want to maybe lead to more impulse purchases. Not that people do impulse purchase, but like rather than stew on whether to buy a game because they've read the reviews a couple of days or a week in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I didn't realize that game was out. And then before looking at reviews, and I guess that's hoping for naivety on the consumer's part, but that is what corporations would probably prefer anyway. So maybe there's something there as well where, and they have some kind of data that suggests that reviews coming out early, even if they're really positive, don't actually affect purchasing habits all that much. But that's, again, like you say, that's sort of information that we aren't ever going to be privy to. So interesting. I don't really, as with everything Xbox, I don't know what to expect from them anymore. I think it's going to be scattershot all over the place
Yeah, because
in good and bad ways.
I can see Call of Duty's review embargo being days before,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
that's going to be the biggest game of the year, right? Like,
Yeah.
Kyle also wrote in and said, should Double Fine be worried that game got little marketing, low player count in terms of Steam sales? We kind of touched on that already. I would need to know how it's doing on Game Pass. I would need to know internal like expectations. Obviously, the Steam player count peaking at, I think, 199 it was last I saw, doesn't indicate it's selling very well on PC.
Mhm.
But I do think that this is very much a Game Pass game.
Yeah. I hope that the ethos that was in place when Xbox acquired Double Fine is still there, even in like scattered remnants. And I would hope, I said a couple of episodes back, I think, that if studios like Double Fine survive for years to come under Xbox, it's because they're, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, that they're rounding errors. You know, that they take up so little budget,
Mm-hmm.
and their games don't really have a massive impact, but they still contribute something to the Game Pass machine. They contribute new IP to Xbox. I would hope that they survive. I must admit, in the moment right now, I'm not super confident. But I would hope that in worst case scenario, if they were looking to be axed in some way, because it's like Satya's like, only big hits, please. And Keeper obviously wasn't designed to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that they're spun off, you know, that they're sold off, or they just go independent again. And I think that Tim probably would push for that. So I'm optimistic that Double Fine will remain. I just hope that, I would prefer that they have the safety in quotes of Xbox over them, funding
Mm-hmm.
them, so that they don't have to constantly chase publishers like
Yeah,
they used to.
no, for sure, for sure. So, I'm not worried about Double Fine right now, just because we don't know what the engagement for this game looked like, and we might never know that because usually they announce those numbers if they're soaring. But we'll see what happens. We had one other question not related to any of our topics. I'm just going to cover real quick. Captain Logan put in an article for Windows Central, says Satya Nadella just secured a $96.5 million payday in 2025, the same year Microsoft cut 15,000 plus jobs. He goes, "The fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's to be expected. It's That's what executives do. They just get paid more and more, and people suffer because of it. And you know, I hate to say it, but it's only going to get worse. And especially with Microsoft and how AI hungry they are, and how clearly Satya does not care in the slightest and will sacrifice anything at the AI altar. I think that reports or rumors or speculation on forums, and it's been like in Q1 of 26 there's going to be another round of layoffs, and I don't think that that's going to be exclusive to Xbox. I think that
No, yeah,
everyone
tech
will
industry.
suffer, but yeah, buckle up because the ride ain't over yet.
Uh, Socialist Kevin's going to come out for a second. No one should be allowed to make that much money. Um, I'm going to say it. No one. We should have a cap on how much money you can earn, and that is well above the cap that I would put in place, because you could give me a fraction of that, and I would be set for the rest of my life.
Yep.
So I can't get behind anyone having exorbitant amounts of money like that personally.
But think of all the hard work he does.
Yeah, think of all those emails he's sending.
He's got to sleep at night knowing he's ruined the livelihoods of tens of thousands of people.
I think you
That's
can.
so tough on him. He has to be
I think you can
compensated
sleep pretty well with like
on the bed of money that he makes every couple of minutes.
yeah. I can't. All right, well, let's go into our next topic. It's your topic. Might be a quick one here, but you wanted to talk about the future of Bluepoint.
Yeah. Speaking of uncertain futures, it's something that sort of has persisted, obviously, from what was going to be a talking point last week. I just, it's exciting, Kev. I just, it's. What does it mean? What could it mean? So, for people that don't know, there was a job listing put up at Bluepoint, which says that they're looking for a senior combat designer to, quote, refine engaging combat systems and mechanics for its next great title. Quote, solid understanding of combat systems and mechanics for third-person melee action experiences required. End quote. Blubble.
I'm muted. No, I was muted when I said no, and even after, still no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I too would say no. Obviously, that would be like the dream. But after it still makes me a little sick in my mouth when I say it, cancelled God of War live service game. After that was cancelled, I said that they should just go back to remaking games. It's what they're best at. It's what they were realistically probably acquired for. And this is hopefully indicative that they aren't reduced to a support studio, which is what they were technically after Demon Souls came out, because they just helped out Santa Monica with Ragnarok. Speaking of Ragnarok and helping out Santa Monica and working on a God of War live service, I would assume, I think the safest bet is that they are probably remaking one of the old God of Wars. That would be my assumption.
It's crazy that we're getting a Last of Us remake already in production.
Yeah. Last of Us Part 2 remastered remake.
So I obviously don't have the affinity for Bluepoint because I don't even think I've ever played any of their games. Seeing this leads me in two directions. Obviously, people go, oh my god, they're gonna do Bloodborne, and that I think would be the dream. I'm really curious, like if that doesn't happen, if this isn't that, it's got to be something with From Software like restricting PlayStation from doing it, because I can't see a reason why they wouldn't want to do a Bloodborne remake. It's sold 7 million copies. It's only grown in like internet culture since that, like Silk Song did, right? Like Bloodborne remake is kind of Bloodborne remake in all the chats is kind of the Silk Song. Where's Silk Song? I think their experience on God of War is leading people to think, well, they have assets, they have experience in the universe. I don't know if that is too much God of War is my concern, because we've had Ragnarok, we're getting the 2D Metroidvania, right, or 2.5D, whatever you want to call it. is another God of War game, unless it's going to be like, is it going to be the next mainline God of War? I find it hard to believe they would take that away from Santa Monica.
Yeah, no.
And then if it is a remake, do they remake it in the style of 2018 and make it like a full reimagining, or do they really keep it true to the roots of what Jaffe and his team over there made with God of War? So I don't know how much people actually like. I know people like God of War, but is anyone really sitting here like, I want to? I haven't heard the clamoring for a God of War 1 remake, like the original.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that if it is classic God of War, they would keep it as is, just sort of, refine it and obviously up the visuals. So they would stay like fixed camera and things like that. It wouldn't be over the shoulder, or I hope it wouldn't anyway. God forbid. It would be interesting, I guess, but like that's not what I want. Um, I agree that it might be like a perception problem of too much God of War. Um, it depends though, because I think whether it's genuine or not, good faith or not, a lot of people are like, I miss old Kratos, I miss bloodthirsty, just shouting at the top of his lungs, Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
And you aren't going to get that in mainline God of War games anymore, obviously, unless there's like a flashback sequence or something. And you aren't really going to get that in the 2.5D thing. Best case scenario, I would say, is that if they are remaking one of the old games, I would actually hope it's not just one game. I would hope that they, I mean, in an ideal scenario, you would do 1, 2, and then both Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus and do them in like a bundle. So the 2 PSP games and God of War 1 and 2. You don't need to do 3 because 3 is like already fine. But I would assume, realistically, I would say if they did do more than one, it would just be 1 and 2, which I would be fine with, to be fair. If they made 1 and 2 up to scratch, I think that is great. So, and I again, I'm not like convinced that it's God of War even, but if they wanted to turn something around as fast as possible, which I could maybe see Bluepoint wanting to do, sort of continue justifying their existence. God of War is one of Sony's most profitable, biggest IPs. It's about to get a show. So maybe they do want to sort of just flood the market with stuff. And maybe give people, again, like The Last of Us, they want to give people a modern, current gen way to experience as much of Kratos's journey as you could with Joel and Ellie for The Last of Us when that show hit.
Well, speaking of The Last of Us, have we ruled out a 2018 remake? What if they just...
I mean, it's looking pretty janky and retro these days.
PS5, PS6,
The
God of
rays aren't
War.
being traced quite enough.
Yeah. It only runs at 60 FPS, so we gotta get that FPS up.
Disgusting.
I almost would like them to do something original, but then I do think like this, they were bought to be a remake studio. That is where all their success has been. So I'm also looking at Sony in this current environment where they seem a little gun shy for greenlighting new IPs, new single player IPs, I should say, in terms of multiplayer. They're like, yeah, we'll greenlight any multiplayer game that can fail. So it is an interesting dichotomy that they have. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what Bluepoint does whenever they pop up again. If it's a God of War remake, that's fine with me. But I do worry about the general perception of Sony is playing it safe and just remaking and keeping the same IP, and we're not going to see new things out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is going to be, obviously like Intergalactic, Santa Monica is doing a new IP. I would be surprised if Sucker Punch didn't do something new next. I'd love Infamous, obviously, but I doubt that will happen. Um, I think that when you get down to like the lower tier studios, not to be mean, like
Mhm.
a Bluepoint, that is, and Bend as well is one of them. Where it's like, do you greenlight new IP there for like the prestige ones? I think that they are going to be doing that and sort of have been, but may I think that Bluepoint might escape the sort of, oh, Sony is only remaking because specifically, like we're saying, of what they were acquired for and what they're known for. Um, but time will tell. I did see as well, like speaking of Bloodborne, I will point out to everyone as a reminder, Miyazaki, he said that Bloodborne is a title that they hold very dear. And the quote that he said, yeah, I will point out to you the quote that Miyazaki himself said, I think having new hardware is definitely a part of what gives these remakes value. And he said that last year. So
PS6.
Bloodborne remake, PS6 launch title. Calling it now. Not ready, but we can
Rick
dream.
Davis wrote into our chat here. I know you're not the biggest fan, Kevin, but Sam, what would you think about the long rumored and supposedly canceled remake of Uncharted 1? Let's say it even has Golden Abyss built into it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Christ knows what's happening with Uncharted, because some people are saying that that is, myself included, saying that that might be the second project in the works in full production at Naughty Dog currently. Under Sean Ascari, he might be directing either an Uncharted 5 or a reboot or something, a spin-off of some kind. He did Lost Legacy, and he's back as creative director on something that's been in the works for multiple years. I don't think that Uncharted 1 is this Bluepoint's thing, because it specifically is saying third person melee action, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you punch in Uncharted, I guess, but like it's a shooter, it's a third person shooter. Um, so and like Uncharted was at one point with Bend, it was at one point with a San Diego studio that was unnamed. So Christ knows. I'd be all for it. I think that Uncharted 1 like definitely probably actually does deserve a remake. And I think that we're like reaching that point where it would be kind of justified to do it now, of all the games that Sony could remake. But I would like that idea, Rick. Yes, I would.
Nice, nice. Uncharted just doesn't do it for me. Tomb Raider doesn't do it for me either, though. So it's nothing.
That's fair.
I
That's fair.
discriminate equally.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Well, let's move into our Patreon topic to round out the show. Our topic this week comes from Alpaca Tom. Remember, if you want to be our Patreon topic of the week, go join patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. $1 a month. You can write into the weekly topic submission thread. Every topic that isn't chosen is then answered in our monthly exclusive episode just for patrons. Alpaca Tom writes in and says, what are some hidden gems in PlayStation Plus or Game Pass?
Mm.
So I have two that immediately come to my mind. And I don't know if one is a hidden gem, but more of an underrated gem. Unicorn Overlord
Okay.
is one of the best games of 2023. Is that when that came out? 2024? Whenever that came out, one of the best games of the year. Criminally underrated. Vanillaware is absolutely phenomenal. And my other one for PS Plus that I will continue to think, Puppeteer.
Oh yes.
Everyone
That,
go play
wow, that is a
Puppeteer.
deep
That
cut.
game is freaking awesome. All right. It didn't get the love it deserved. Y'all, I blame all of you.
Yep. What a banger, you know?
It was way better than I ever could have expected it to be.
Yeah. Hard agree on Puppeteer. Hard agree. Can't speak on Unicorn Overlord, but I've heard nothing but good things from people that care about those games. So yeah, I think those good. Game Pass is a really good option. There's the unsubscribe button.
Oh my
You could
God.
jump on that one.
Jesus Christ.
No, but in all seriousness, I don't know if I have enough knowledge of what is on Game Pass currently. In terms of like hidden gems, I'm trying to think of like Xbox first party that might have gone bit under the radar. I mean, if you haven't played Hi-Fi Rush, like
Mm-hmm.
you should do that. In terms of PlayStation Plus, I would shout out things like Resogun, from Housemarque, fantastic launch title for PS4. Um, like a twin stick shooter. I would shout out things like Humanity, fantastic puzzle game. I would shout out, I think it's still on there, like Indica is a great shout.
It is. Yep.
Nice, interesting, unique little experience. I would say if you're on the classics, give Sly Cooper a little bit of love.
I have some more that I want to shout out.
Okay.
The Origami series,
Okay. Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
stealth games. If you're into being a ninja and more stealth focused as opposed to Ninja Gaiden. Cat Quests. The Cat Quest games they're just fun. Like they're just silly fun, light RPGs. And then I want to give a shout out to, and I think this is on PS Plus. I think it was on Game Pass. I don't know if it's still there. Tinykin.
Yes.
Tinykin is phenomenal. It's like 3D platformer meets Pikmin. Absolutely amazing game. Check Tinykin out if you haven't.
Yeah. I would also shout out for another couple of random picks that come to mind. Oddworld Soulstorm. Obviously, you have to kind of like the Oddworld games to be into that, but that's a good shout. I would say things like, oh Christ, what's it called? Maneater.
Ooh, I don't like Maneater. I don't
Do
like
you not?
Maneater. No,
Oh, I
I
had a good
tried
time with
playing
that.
it and I was like, I'm not feeling this. It's gonna be a hit or miss game. It
Sure.
could certainly hit with other people.
And it's not really like a hidden gem per se. Oh, this isn't a hidden gem really because a lot of people know about it, but in the same vein as Hi-Fi Rush, if you haven't played Prey,
Oh yeah,
from Arcane,
that's an underrated game. I think. Yeah. People
like
know
that is
about
like
it.
all-timer level of immersive sim. So like jump on that. And another one that I think is still on PlayStation Plus, if I'm not wrong. Again, it's not like completely under the radar, but not a lot of people played it or love it. I would shout out Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I like that game.
I think that there is a lot to enjoy there. I think people saw like the gameplay initially and were like, I don't know if that's for
I was
me.
like,
But
this game looks horrible, and then I
once you're
played
in it, and like I think the story alone is worth it, and the characters, but the gameplay does grow on you. Wonder Stop Nissa, like
Nissa really likes Wanderstop.
I love Davy Reedon. That game just didn't connect with me, and it's so gutting because like Beginner's Guide, Stanley Parable, Beginner's Guide is one of my favorite games of all time. And I think that Wonder Stop is gorgeous, but it just didn't quite stick the landing. But I would say if you're into like cozy games in general and you like sort of really taking your foot off the pedal, like that game is literally about sort of taking your foot off the pedal. So, if you're, therapist, I totally understand that. And there's for sure, I can see why that clicked with you. So yeah, that is a good shout for cozy games, no doubt.
I think that is a good amount of games, mainly because I can't think of any more off the top of my head. I'm sure
There's a game called Bloodborne, if people haven't played that.
Yeah, Bang on Balls.
Would you be upset if I said I platinum that game?
Yeah, I know you did. That's why I said
okay.
it.
Okay. I thought you just like potluck randomly saw something and you're like, I'm gonna name the stupidest sounding game.
I tried to play it and I got about like I think I got one trophy
it's bad.
uninstalled. It's bad. It's not a hidden gem. Not a hidden gem, guys.
No. Not pretty easy platinum though.
I'm
but that's
sure
not
it
the
is.
question.
I actually think Ains over at Season Gaming, shout out Ains, friend of the show. I think he unironically really likes Bang on Balls.
I mean, it does have a dedicated fart button, so that's pretty cool.
I think that might be the achievement I got is the fart or
Mm.
the trophy.
You just
So,
got to fart on lots of stuff in that game,
yeah.
which is weird considering you're talking about balls. Like, no, it's not. Anyway,
Well, that will do it for us for this week. Thank you so much, chat, for hanging out with us. Love to see a lovely, lively chat. At one point, you guys were building your own Remedy Returnal game in the chat. So I also love to see it. Sam, where can people find you until next week's show?
people can find me anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, Heaney.
And you can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's a 1 to 7I, own 7A. Follow us at Save the Game Media over on Blue Sky to stay updated with all of our latest content. Until next time, we will see you